This is not very rock and roll of you. I just discovered a shortcut, just hear me out, get one of those. Hello everyone, it's Bernth. I'm here at Sweetwater because I want to talk about 5 pieces of gear that I think are really important. Maybe that helps a little bit, because maybe you're not familiar with every single item I will show you today. The first one I'm showing to you is pretty much the only modification I did to my new signature guitar with Ibanez, the BER10. And it's this right here. A very, very small detail, but actually pretty huge. I'd like to talk a little bit about security locks, starting this off. So those are pretty important because of multiple reasons. The first time I discovered them is when I played for a pop band that grew from a club to an arena and now even stadium level in a very, very short time. So at one point I suddenly had a guitar tech and he was pretty much asking me if I'm crazy going on big stages like live on TV and all of that without any security locks. I personally hadn't even heard about them until this point. The cool thing about them is that, as the name suggests, it's much less likely for your guitar to fall down once you have them installed. You just have to pull right here and it disconnects from the guitar, which makes it awesome for quick guitar changes. The wireless is on my strap like this, and I do that and I do this right here, and the guitar is off the strap. Compared to like doing that in a very stressful situation without those security locks, you might be standing there like, can't really take it off. Playing live is already hard enough, so if you want to eliminate one more frustration when it comes to that, try those out. The second thing I'd like to talk about is this right here, and that's a footrest. Another thing a lot of guitar players don't have, and I know that all the rock and metal players that might follow me on my channel might say this is not very rock and roll of you, but honestly, this is a pretty life-changing thing when it comes to your daily practice routine. Just hear me out for 1 minute, maybe I can convince you about that. If I have the weight of the guitar on my shoulders all day, first practicing, then recording, maybe shooting some videos and all that, I can really feel that in my back already. I'm not that old yet, but I do feel it. This pose is quite famous by now. You see it in a lot of videos. It's very modern, I guess. And it does feel quite comfortable. You have some stability for the instrument like this. But the problem with that, when I turn around a little bit more, is of course the back, you can see, is not exactly straight. I can feel it in my neck as well because I'm looking down like this. So doing this for 5 or 6 hours every single day is probably not that healthy. So having a footrest like this, where you can play in classical position like that, is really helpful because it doesn't just feel really good because you have all that stability with the instrument, so it's not really moving around that much when I'm playing. My back is much straighter right now, and I can look down at the fretboard like this, as opposed to looking down like that. I promise you, even though if your cool bandmates make fun of you for using one of those, it will save your back. You can play like live on stage much, much longer. It has definitely helped both my neck and back problems over the years, so get one of those. Up next, I think every guitar player needs one of those. That's of course a USB audio interface. In my case, I've been working with Focusrite for quite a while now. It's a very, very common interface. I think you've seen it before. And the reason why I like to use this interface, there's a personal story of big frustration when it comes to audio interfaces with me. I used to go with a cheaper brand because I was a broke student at the conservatory and I couldn't afford going into the studio to record some of my first songs. I recorded the full album at home, so just the DI tracks, so that we can reamp them later on in the studio. But there was a pretty massive buzz on the DI tracks that I recorded at home. So the producer essentially told me, it's nice that you recorded all that in the last couple of months, but you're gonna have to do it again with a proper audio interface. So since I'm using the Focusrite interfaces, I'm getting very, very clear DI tracks. For example, when I did the work for Cobra Kai for the Netflix series, I just recorded it literally with this interface when I was traveling, and it was good enough for a major Netflix series. So if you're like me and you mostly record DI tracks and you work with plugins, this one is a great choice because it fits in any backpack. It's very portable and it gets you great results. And recently, just a couple of months ago, when I moved to Los Angeles, I had to come up with a new system for my home studio, and Focusrite were kind enough to send me this interface, which is a bit of a bigger version. And the reason why I have this one at home is because it has plenty inputs and also outputs. So when I'm at home, I might record acoustic guitar, then I might record vocals, then I might record a voiceover for a YouTube video, and then I also have multiple guitars with different output levels at home, so with active pickups, passive pickups, and so on. So it's really nice to have all of those channels ready, so that I don't, like, every single day have to plug in for, okay, now I'm recording with this guitar, gonna set the levels, then I'm doing a voiceover, I have to plug in the same input and adjust the levels again and all of that. So I have all of that routed into my Cubase project, and it also comes with like some rack clamps at the side, so it's actually fitted into my studio desk, which is super cool. I think like if you have a drum kit at home, you could easily mic it and then still have some inputs for guitar and bass stuff. I recently recorded Mike Dawes, who's an amazing acoustic player, but his guitar has like 8 or 9 different outputs because of the different mics and all of that. It's just nice to have an interface that has more than 2 inputs for situations like this. And then another piece of quite simple, small gear I think guitar players should have is this right here. That's a fret wrap. But I do have to say, use this one with caution. This is not meant to be a shortcut when it comes to eliminating string noise or fixing sloppy technique in any way. It's just a really cool tool to have when you're recording at home. So this is essentially a string dampener. So it goes on your guitar like this. I want to show you what it actually does. So when we switch to a really kind of high gain tone, and I do this right here, doesn't sound very pleasant, but you can hear that all the strings are clearly ringing out, of course. As soon as I move it right here and dampen the strings a little bit, maybe like this, you can already hear it's kind of a little bit more muted, but as soon as I move it up quite a lot and I also tighten it a little bit, it sounds very different, doesn't it? So when I do a quick scale run like this, you can't really hear any string noise, which is very tempting for guitar players because they're like, oh wow, I just discovered a shortcut or a hack to get rid of string noise. In reality, of course, you want to work on your technique, like your fretting and technique and your picking technique in a way where you don't get string noise without using a fret wrap like this. But the reason why I do recommend having one of those is because sometimes you have super last minute deadlines. When I was on the plane flying here to Sweetwater, I got another request to do a soundtrack for, I think, a BBC One series or something that's due next week already, and I haven't even heard the track and so on. So sometimes you have super tight deadlines, and this can be a nice tool in the studio just to get the super perfect take as quickly as possible. It can be a very misleading thing because it might make you feel like, wow, I'm really improving, there's much less string noise and so on. But when you're playing live, you can't really use it for everything, because when I have it on my strings like this, of course, I can't really play the open strings. Sounds a little bit strange. So in a practical context, you would always have to kind of, okay, open strings, play the riff, and then for the guitar solo, like slide it back and forth like this, which can be a little bit inconvenient and also look a little bit crazy. So a great tool to have for recording at home, just use it with caution. And for the last item, you of course will need an amp of some kind. And I've been recently using this one because I did a lot of shows where I had to fly pretty much every single day over the last couple of months. I just came home from a tour in China, then I went to South Korea, then to Australia. Also did a bunch of European tours this year. I usually have a camper, the old school rack unit by now. For me, this is still cutting edge technology, but it's simply too big to fit into my backpack. So I bought one of those. Right now, I also have a quad cortex on the floor right here. You just plug in and then you have the same sounds that you have when you're at home, or pretty much the day before in a completely different country. To give you the fastest rundown ever, I have distorted sounds like this on the quad cortex. I also have a lot of clean tones. They sound really, really cool, and like some more modern math rock kind of tones with some delay and reverb in there. So you can do a lot of stuff with this, and I even have a pedal, Mission Engineering pedal, that gets me some fun wah stuff. So this has been a really nice portable setup, and I would recommend for every single guitar player to not just have a huge half stack at home or a big camper unit and a rack. Just also think about what happens if someone calls you tomorrow and is like, hey, I want you to audition for this, or I want you to record there. Do you also have something really, really good that fits into a backpack? So my friend, if you have any questions about any of those pieces of gear, just get in touch with your Sweetwater sales engineer, and make sure to subscribe to this channel. You can also subscribe to mine if you enjoyed this video. I hope you had a lot of fun watching it. See you soon.